What if the very pulse that keeps you alive could also be the most potent weapon in the hands of those who wish to control you? Imagine a quiet, ordinary evening, the glow of a lamp casting long, wavering shadows across the walls, when the words you think you hear are not your own. You feel a sudden, inexplicable tug at your chest, a subtle pressure that whispers, "You must do this, or I will be lost." How many times have you found yourself obeying a demand that felt less like a choice and more like an invisible leash tightening around your freedom? In the hidden corners of our emotional lives, there lies a craft older than any law, a craft that has been whispered in hushed tones by those who understand that the heart is not a sanctuary, but a battlefield. This is the dark art of emotional blackmail, a subtle manipulation that lures the unwary into a web of guilt, fear, and obligation. It is an art that thrives in the spaces between words, in the silence that follows an argument, in the unspoken expectations that bind us to another's will. It is a silent, invisible force that can turn love into a leash, affection into a threat, and trust into a trap. You might ask, is this truly a craft? Or just another form of manipulation? The answer lies not in the obvious, but in the unseen currents that flow beneath our conscious thoughts. Think of the stories of ancient mystics who spoke of unseen forces guiding the fates of those who dared to listen. Consider the legends of shadow realms where the line between help and harm blurs, where the energies that once promised comfort now demand sacrifice. How many of us have felt that eerie pull, that sense that our own heart is being used as a bargaining chip in a game we never signed up for? If you've ever felt the weight of an accusation that seemed to carry more than just words, an accusation that felt like a threat of abandonment or a promise of loss, then you've tasted the first hint of this dark art. The feeling that you're walking a tightrope over a void, that your every step is being watched, that your silence could be your undoing. The question you might ask yourself is, who is the real puppet master in this dance? It's a question that lingers in the quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts, when the world seems to pause and your own heart beats louder than any external voice. This video will not simply tell you what emotional blackmail is. Instead, it invites you on a journey that will peel back the layers of this hidden craft, revealing the ancient whispers that echo through our psyche. We will explore the shadows that linger in our relationships, the subtle manipulations that masquerade as affection, and the unseen forces that influence our choices. You will be guided through a labyrinth of feelings, where every turn holds a new revelation about the power that lies within and around us. In the following moments, you will confront the unsettling truth that the very emotions we cherish can also be weaponized. You will learn to recognize the silent cues, the psychological tactics, and the mystical underpinnings that make emotional blackmail a formidable foe. The journey will be one of discovery, of learning to see the patterns that have kept us entrapped for far too long. It will be a call to awaken the dormant parts of your mind, to untangle the threads that bind you, and to reclaim the agency that is your birthright. So, as the night deepens and the lamp's light flickers, let us step together into the shadows and uncover the forbidden truths that lie beneath. What will you do when you finally see the unseen hand that has guided your heart? The answer will shape the rest of your story. The path ahead is shrouded in mystery, but it is also illuminated by the promise of liberation. Let us begin. The first flicker of revelation appears not in the light of rationality, but in the quiet, trembling echo of the unconscious. Imagine a mirror that shows not your face, but the silhouette of a creature that has always lived beneath your skin. That creature, the Jungian shadow, is the repository of all the emotions you've suppressed, the desires you've deemed forbidden, the impulses you've never allowed to surface. When a partner taps into that shadow, they do not merely manipulate. They become a conduit for a deeper primal force that has always sought expression. This conduit can turn a gentle whisper into a roar, a tender touch into a tightening grip. It is here that the art of emotional blackmail transcends simple coercion and becomes an invocation of the very parts of you that have long been buried. Consider the ancient practice of sympathetic magic, where a practitioner would bind a personal symbol to an object, believing that the object's fate would mirror their own. In modern relationships, this takes the shape of emotional tethering, a promise of affection tied to a hidden threat. The victim's heart, already attuned to the language of love, becomes an unwitting instrument. The manipulator's words are then amplified by the unconscious, turning a simple request into a psychic command. This is not a new phenomenon. It has been observed in the rituals of cults, in the subtle dynamics of political persuasion, and in the quiet corners of our own families. Yet, it remains cloaked in the ordinary, disguised as concern or caring. Another layer of the hidden revelation lies in the realm of synchronicity. When two people share an intimate bond, their lives become interlaced threads, each event resonating across the other's consciousness. A manipulator can exploit this resonance by planting a symbolic event, a broken vase, an unexpected rainstorm, at a precise moment. The victim interprets it as a cosmic sign, a validation of the manipulator's narrative. In this way, the blackmailer's influence is no longer just emotional. It becomes a perceived destiny, a script written in the stars. The victim's sense of agency dissolves, replaced by a belief that the universe itself is enforcing the manipulator's will. Now, consider how this plays out in the everyday. You are in a quiet kitchen, the scent of coffee curling around the air. Your partner looks at you with a calm, almost serene expression and says, "If you're not going to be there for me, I can't keep pretending we're in love." The words are simple, but the weight is heavy. In that moment, you feel a sudden, inexplicable dread, not just of their disappointment, but of a deeper, almost primal fear that you have been cast out. The fear is not just a rational response. It is the shadow's whisper, amplified by the synchronistic cue of the coffee's steam. The manipulator has turned a mundane conversation into a ritual that binds you to their emotional universe. The hidden revelation also includes the psychological technique known as emotional contagion. This is the subtle, almost invisible process by which one person's emotions can spread to another, much like a virus. A manipulator can deliberately cultivate a state of vulnerability in the victim, then release a carefully timed wave of guilt or fear. The victim, already emotionally primed, absorbs the contagion and begins to act in accordance with the manipulator's desires. The cycle is self-reinforcing. The more the victim yields, the stronger the contagion, the deeper the manipulation. In this way, emotional blackmail becomes a self-sustaining system, a closed loop that feeds on the victim's own emotional energy. Finally, we must confront the notion of destiny that is often invoked to justify emotional blackmail. Many will argue, it's meant to be, or we're just following our path. This is a classic example of the just because trap, a psychological shortcut that convinces the victim that their suffering is inevitable. By framing the manipulation as destiny, the blackmailer erases the sense of choice, turning resistance into an act of rebellion against the cosmos. The victim's self-worth becomes tied to their compliance, and their sense of autonomy is eroded. The realization that this perceived destiny is nothing more than a carefully constructed narrative is a chilling, yet liberating, revelation. In the shadows of our emotional lives, these hidden mechanisms operate in concert, weaving a tapestry that is both intricate and insidious. The next time you feel a sudden surge of guilt, a whispered threat that feels like fate, pause and ask, is this a genuine emotional need, or a shadowed command disguised as destiny? The answer lies in recognizing the subtle dance between the conscious and the unconscious, between the visible and the unseen. Only by acknowledging this hidden choreography can you begin to reclaim the power that has been quietly stolen. As we stand at the threshold of the final revelation, the landscape of our inner world feels both familiar and newly uncharted. The currents that once seemed separate now merge into a single powerful tide that has carried us through the labyrinth of shadow, destiny, and resonance. The subtle hand that guides the dance of emotions is no longer a distant figure but an intimate partner in the choreography of our psyche. In the quiet moments after the storm of realization, we find ourselves standing on a shore that has been reshaped by the waves of hidden influence. The shoreline, once smooth and predictable, now bears the imprint of countless ripples, each one a testament to the unseen forces that have shaped our choices. The shoreline's texture reminds us that even the most subtle currents can leave lasting marks, and that the waters we navigate are far richer than they appear at first glance. The interplay of these forces has been like a symphony, where each instrument, fear, desire, expectation, plays its part in a composition that, when heard in isolation, seems harmonious. Yet, when the orchestra is brought together, the music reveals a complex tapestry of tension and release, of shadows that stretch across the stage and light that breaks through. The notes linger, echoing long after the final chord, leaving us with a sense of wonder at the depth of the unseen. The path forward, illuminated by this new understanding, feels less like a straight line and more like a winding river that meanders through valleys of self-discovery. Each bend offers a fresh perspective, each tributary a different source of insight. We are invited to follow the current, trusting that the flow will guide us toward the heart of the matter. The river's journey is not a simple one. It twists, turns, and sometimes retreats, but it always seeks the ocean of truth that lies beyond. In this moment of reflection, the weight of what we have uncovered is not a burden but a lantern, casting light on the hidden corners of our relationships. The lantern's glow is steady, yet it invites us to step forward, to walk the path that has been illuminated by the revelations of the past. The glow does not dictate the direction. It simply shows the way. The choice of where to go, how to move, and what to do with this newfound awareness rests entirely within us. As we gather the pieces of this intricate puzzle, the picture that emerges is not one of despair but of possibility. The darkness that once seemed absolute now reveals itself as a canvas upon which we can paint our own narrative. The brushstrokes are guided by the knowledge that we can choose how to respond to the subtle forces that have long dictated our emotional terrain. We are now poised at the precipice of transformation, where the culmination of the journey will unfold. The anticipation is palpable, a quiet hum that resonates within the chambers of our hearts. The final chapter is not a conclusion in the traditional sense but a doorway, inviting us to step into a realm where understanding becomes empowerment, and awareness becomes agency. The moment is ripe, the stage is set, and the curtain is ready to rise on the next act of our story. The most unsettling truth we have uncovered is that the very threads that bind us together can, in the hands of a skilled manipulator, be rewoven into a net that ensnares our will. Yet, this realization is not a confession of defeat. It is the first spark that ignites the possibility of liberation. When we acknowledge that the heart can be both a sanctuary and a battlefield, we begin to see the subtle dance of shadow, destiny, and resonance as a map rather than a trap. The map reveals that every choice we make is not merely a reaction to external stimuli, but a dialogue with the deeper currents that have been silently steering us for years. In the quiet after the storm of insight, we stand on the shore of our own consciousness, a place where the waves of fear, longing, and obligation meet the rocks of self-knowledge. Each ripple that once seemed to carry us away now carries a lesson, that the unseen hand of emotional blackmail is not an immutable force but a pattern that can be recognized, understood, and ultimately redirected. The realization that our responses are not predetermined but are the product of an ongoing conversation between our conscious intent and our unconscious architecture empowers us to become the architects of our own destiny, rather than the subjects of an invisible script. The journey through the shadows has shown us that the heart's most powerful weapon is not the fear it can ignite, but the awareness it can inspire. By turning the lens inward and observing the subtle cues that signal manipulation, whether it's a sudden surge of guilt, a whispered threat cloaked in destiny, or the resonant echo of a shared symbolic event, we gain a mirror that reflects not only the manipulator's intent but our own capacity for choice. This mirror does not merely show us what has happened. It invites us to question the narrative that has been imposed upon us and to rewrite it with intention and compassion. Our exploration of Jungian archetypes, synchronicity, and emotional contagion has revealed that the mechanisms of emotional blackmail are rooted in the same psychic processes that enable healing, creativity, and connection. When we learn to recognize these mechanisms, we can harness their power for transformation rather than subjugation. The same forces that once tightened the invisible leash can now be used to loosen it, to breathe new life into a relationship that has been stifled by unspoken expectations and hidden threats. The final, most profound insight is that the true practice of emotional freedom begins not with a single revelation, but with a sustained, intentional dialogue with our own inner world. It is a practice of listening to the quiet whispers of our shadow, of honoring the synchronicities that guide us, and of setting boundaries that respect both our needs and the needs of those we love. In this practice, we move from being passive recipients of emotional manipulation to becoming active co-creators of the narratives that shape our lives. As we close this exploration, let us remember that the darkness that once seemed all-consuming is merely a part of the larger tapestry of experience. By bringing its hidden threads into the light, we transform fear into understanding, manipulation into empowerment, and destiny into choice. The true practice begins now, in the space between breath and intention, where we can choose to let go of the invisible shackles and step into the full expression of our authentic selves. May you walk forward with a quiet confidence that every choice you make is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life, and may the shadows you once feared become the very shades that add depth and color to your masterpiece. The journey is yours. Embrace it, own it, and let it guide you toward the freedom that has always been within reach.